Welcome to You Cook, I'll Bake, the perfect show for the imperfect chef. I'm Danielle.
And I am Andrea, and today we are celebrating one of my favorite culinary cooking holidays, Cinco de Mayo. It's fantastic. And while it does commemorate the Mexicans' defeat of the French at the Battle of Puebla, thank you very much, there's a teacher coming out, it really does celebrate Mexican and American culture.
And what better way to celebrate culture than with food? So today we're going to be making authentic Mexican street tacos with beans and one of my favorite, a rendition of one of my favorite Mexican desserts.
Churros.
We are making a cinnamon crumb cake muffin.
It's going to be so delicious. Oh my gosh, I can't wait. Let's go ahead and get started with our marinade for our Carne Asada tacos. We're going to start out with some orange juice. I've got a cup of orange juice here. I have a cup of lime juice, fresh squeezed lime juice. You can use this stuff in the jar, it's totally fine either way. I also have a cup of white vinegar. Okay, so all three of those will go in with some onions. I'm going to use about half of this. I've got half a cup of onions that are going to go into my marinade. And
now, does half a cup translate to half an onion?
No. I would say probably depending on the size of your onion. If you're looking at an onion that's about this size, you're looking at probably about half of that. But if you have one of the larger like Vidalia onions, you're looking at probably a quarter of that.
And this is just a white onion?
Just a white onion, yeah.
Okay.
I do have some cilantro. I have rinsed this cilantro. When you buy it at the grocery store, there's a lot of sand in the cilantro. So you definitely want to make sure to rinse it out. And you don't have to do anything with this. You don't have to chop it. I'm just going to tear a little bit of it. And we're going to have probably about a cup to a cup and a half of cilantro. This is my older daughter's kryptonite. She cannot stand cilantro. I, on the other hand, adore it. I have some fresh garlic here. I'm going to use 3 cloves of garlic, and I'm going to show you how to cut up a garlic really quick. I'm going to take the flat part of my knife and just smash it, and what that does is releases the husk from the garlic or the skin from the garlic. You can't eat it. It's inedible. You can take the onion skin, actually. Thank you. If you're getting me a bowl, you're wonderful. You can take it and put it in some soup or some broth, and it's absolutely fantastic. It's got a lot of medicinal properties as well. It's the same thing with onion skin. If you take onion skin and you put it in broth, it's got insanely good medicinal properties. I learned that from one of my colleagues at school. 2 garlic. Let's do 1 more. Looks like this one's already peeled, so that's good. You want to be very careful when you're chopping anything like this. Claw your hands to protect your fingers. Claw your hands. The garlic is going to go straight into the marinade as well. I'm going to take some ground cumin. I don't measure my spices very often. Ground cumin is just fantastic. I'm going to pull the Rachel Ray here for a second, but I'm going to take a little handful and put it in there. That's just about a tablespoon of ground cumin. Chipotle chili pepper. Now, I'm using chipotle chili pepper. I like the chipotle because it's smokier. It's really yummy. It does pack a little heat, but keep in mind, this heat is going to be in a marinade. It's not something that's going to overpower the steak. And then some salt and pepper. Just a little pinch of both, because this is a lot of acidity in here. You don't want too much acidity, but this is a short marinade, so don't worry. Now, okay, this is the important part. Glove up, people. We are about to take care of a jalapeno right now. And the worst thing you could ever do with a jalapeno is cut it without a glove on or some form of protection. And believe me, I know this from experience. I don't want to talk about what happened to my nose that time. All right, so glove up with your jalapeno. Cut the top off of your jalapeno. Put this off to the side along with my garlic skin.
She's got her trash bowl.
I do a trash bowl, yes. And I'm going to take some of these seeds out. Now, I do want to keep some seeds in, not a ton of them, but I'm going to pull 1 rib and half the seeds out. The seeds are where the heat is. So we're going to pull those seeds out. I don't want this to be something that my children can't eat. I'm going to slice this up.
All the scents are hitting me all at the same time.
It's good
now
stuff,
I'm hungry.
Now you're hungry. This is good. That's what I want. All right, I'm gonna slice this up as well.
So you're cutting up one with the rib in it.
Half of jalapeno with the rib, half without. It's a little bit too much heat for my taste.
And I know you've mentioned this before, that if you don't have gloves like we do today, you can cover up with a Ziploc bag.
That's right, absolutely. For the purposes of this, I have gloves on. Like, I don't really need anything else. I'm gonna go in and kind of massage my cilantro a little bit. It just kind of helps it loosen up a little bit. It also helps the salt and the pepper and everything kind of get in and incorporate a little bit. And then I'm gonna take my steak. Now I have these lovely steaks. I went with a skirt steak. Danielle, can you hand me the glass dish over there?
Sure.
I went with a skirt steak. I got this at Costco. It is a delicious steak, and this is a lot of steak. So we're gonna take one of these steaks. Look how beautiful this is. Ugh. So lovely. You want to use something that's got a lot of fibers in it. It's got a lot of fat in it because it's going to cook down. I'm going to cut this one in half, but all we're doing is we are going to lay this down in our pan just like this. And I'm going to pour some of the marinade over it. Get some of that cilantro in there. And like I said, this is a quick marinade. This is only going to go in for about 30 minutes on the countertop, but if you put it in the fridge, it's going to be 2 hours at the max. This has got a lot of acidity in it. You don't need to keep it in there that long, okay?
So this isn't one of those marinated overnight sort of
no,
deals.
I wouldn't do that. It's got too much acidity. That acidity is going to start breaking down that steak, and it won't be good at all. So we're going to let this rest on the counter for about 30 minutes, and then we'll come back and we'll get started with
Okay, Google, set timer for 30 minutes.
Let's see.
Technology.
Good stuff.
All right, so now we're going to move on to our dessert, the baking part of this you cook, I'll bake shindig that we got going on here. I have in front of me a box. Yes, a box. We want this to be easy. This is something that I make very frequently for my family, and it's a quick go-to, just grab out of the pantry sort of thing. Very few ingredients are needed. I've got a little bit of oil and water here in this bowl and 5 eggs, and then we're gonna be good to go. This is a gluten-free cinnamon swirl crumb cake and muffin mix. One of my favorite Mexican desserts is churros. I was not going to be making homemade churros today. It was just a little unrealistic. This is a great option. They also have on the back a option to make la leche cinnamon cake, which
la leche,
sounds
so delicious.
Really good. I was missing one ingredient, the sweetened condensed milk, or I might have been making that today. There's 2 options. You can do a cake, you can do muffins. I prefer muffins because they bake a lot quicker and they're already pre-portioned, so you can just tell the kids to grab one and go.
Yeah, and they're good for little hands.
Yeah, they really are. Inside of our box, we have this cinnamon sugar mixture, the topping, and we have our gluten-free cake mix.
There you go. And I have gone ahead and sprayed the muffin tins for Danielle as well.
I have my water and my vegetable oil in here. There's 3 tablespoons of water and 3 tablespoons of vegetable oil. We have 5 eggs, so we're just going to right there on the counter.
Good stuff, good stuff. And put it in your bowl. I have a composter at my house, a beautiful garden in the backyard. I like to take all of my food refuse, I guess is the word, my food garbage, and I like to put it in my composter. So eggshells are fantastic for your composters. If you don't have one, get one and make a garden. It's so worth it.
I kind of prefer, if I'm just whipping eggs, to use a fork. It's just easier, it's cleaner than using a whisk in my opinion. So I'm just going to mix these together really quickly before I put in our cake batter.
Well, and it's really important to go ahead and do this with your eggs. It helps things kind of combine a lot better, and you won't find the clumpiness and lumpiness in your batter.
And as we mentioned on the last episode, lumps are good for just about nothing.
No lumps.
So
I'm going to do some squats here in a second just to make sure I don't have any lumps.
While I bake, she works out.
There you go.
That's the side
there you go.
title. All right, now I'm just pouring in my batter, cake mix into
the dry ingredients into the wet.
Put the dry in the wet, and we mix it all together. And again, just gonna use that same fork to mix it all together.
Oh, that looks so good.
I like to stir in the middle, and then I occasionally scrape the outside of my bowl just to make sure that I've got it all mixed in. I'm kind of digging at the bottom, making sure it's all, you know, all the dry is getting
stuff on the bottom.
Pulled in from the bottom.
Well, and that's part of the reason why in the bottom you do your wet ingredients first and then add your dry to it. That way the bottom of the bowl has the wet ingredients, and then it helps to incorporate it a lot better.
All of the wet were already mixed together, and then we started mixing in the dry. So this is pretty much ready. On the box, you will notice, if you do go forward with getting the Krusteaz gluten-free cinnamon swirl, just saying, this stuff is great.
But I will tell you that I've had all of them, which is the reason why I'm still doing my lunches. But I've had all of the Krusteaz brand is so good.
It really is. And I love the fact that they have a lot of different gluten-free options. They really taste exactly the same. They're magicians. On here, it does, you know, kind of encourage you to use this, pour half in, then half of the cinnamon topping, the rest, and then some topping on top. You can do it however you want. Today, I'm gonna go ahead and mix in half of my cinnamon sugar topping into my mixture. That's gonna give it more of that cinnamon flavor, and then I'll put a little topping on top.
A little topping on top.
Topping on the top. For those of you that joined us for episode 1, I went the route of from scratch tiramisu. I'm still recovering from that, so that's why I decided to go with a really simple option, a nice one bowl option even, for dessert today. And I passed the baton over to Andrea to go with the from scratch, you know, really.
That's my jam.
The
That's
more
my
difficult
thing.
thing.
Yeah.
That will not be a norm for me. So you can see that cinnamon is really mixed in well. Okay, this is my favorite spoon.
It's a nice one.
Hi audience, meet my favorite spoon. It is a Pyrex. I like this spoon because it just so happens to be like the perfect size for just about anything. Chili, soup, scooping batter. I don't know. I continue to find uses for it. I like to, instead of just pouring it, I'm a very neat baker. I like to clean as I go. I know, right? I don't like messy pans. So I'm going to just scoop a little bit and I just scrape the bowl as I pull it up. I like to rock it back and forth, and that helps me not make a mess.
So do you fill that halfway up or 3/4 of the way up? Or
Yes, right now I'm filling about halfway until I get the rest of them done, and then if I see that I have more batter left, I'll go back and just put a little more in it.
Perfect.
I've gotten through all of them, and you can see I still have a good bit of batter left. So I'm just going to go through and add a little bit more to each. It takes some time to do it right, but
it's worth it.
Yeah, they'll come out nicer and your pan won't be nearly as hard to clean.
This is true.
Be all crusty.
You have enough?
I think that's good. This one's a little
that's gonna be my portion. No, don't do it. That's gonna be my portion. That's it. Because I don't need any more than that.
This is the baby cake. This is the baby cake. I could go back. I am the perfectionist, so I typically would go back and kind of even these out a little bit.
That's the tester.
But this is just going to be the baby cake because that's what Andrea wants.
There you go.
So now we're going to quickly add some topping onto our muffins. And I'll just use my spoon to kind of spread it around a little bit.
So nice. I love that.
You can use your hand too. That's something I was going to mention after editing the first episode. We are moms. Don't forget, we are not in a professional kitchen. No. It is totally fine that we have our hair down. We're tasting as we go. We are not following all the guidelines that you would see a normal chef follow that is cooking for people that they didn't bring into this world. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Now, just a slight little pro tip really quick for you guys. You can also take this. I love that she's putting the sugar on top. If you take just a teeny tiny little sprinkle of salt right on top of that, it will make it like boom. It's so good. Sugar and salt are complementary on about 1,000 levels.
Chocolate and sea salt is one of my favorite. Oof. Dark chocolate sea salt.
I love it. It's so good.
We have all of our cinnamon now distributed on top of all of our muffins.
I like that one, right?
Even the little baby one.
That's my favorite.
So now we have our oven, again, preheated to 350, and we're going to pop these in for...
What's the time again?
For muffins, 14 to 16 minutes at 400 degrees. So let's bump it up a little bit.
We'll bump it up a little bit. Okay.
400 for the muffins. Again, it gives you multiple different options for a cake or muffin pan. We are using a muffin pan, so 400, we're going to bump it up, put it in there for 14 to 16 minutes. And in the meantime, I'm going to pass it back over to Andrea for those tacos.
So we are about to start with our beans. Now, beans are really, really delicious. These are my pork chorizo beans. They're insanely good, and they don't require a ton of seasoning because most of the seasoning is here in my chorizo. So I'm going to put some olive oil in my pot right here, and now I've got my induction burner up to, I think it's level 8 or 9, and I'm going to add some onions to this. I'm not adding any salt or any pepper right now because I don't really need to. The pork chorizo is going to take care of that for me. Stir it in, make sure all those onions get in there and they are sweating down, which means that it's releasing a lot of those sugars. The pork does have a lot of sugar in it as well, so you really want to make sure that you're caramelizing these onions and cooking them kind of slow. This should take maybe about 5 minutes at the max to get these onions down to where you want them to be. Don't add garlic yet. Whatever you do not add garlic yet because the garlic will burn and it will get bitter. So don't add the garlic until I tell you to add the garlic. My onions are sweating down. They look fantastic. What I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to add my pork chorizo. Now, pork chorizo, like I said, is insanely delicious. Tons of flavor. And this is the Cacique brand. So good. I'm going to use this as my garbage bowl. And yes, it's meat that comes out of a tube, but man, is it good. I'm going to use about 3/4 of this because it does have a little spice to it. You know what? Let's go ahead and do it all. Who knows? It might be amazing. It will be amazing. I'm just kidding. We're going to let this cook down. Dannielle, you were having all of the smells just a minute ago.
I know.
Come and smell.
I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it.
Get in there.
Oh, man.
It's so good. So
I've had these beans before, and I'll just go ahead and tell you they're amazing.
They're phenomenal. They really are. So let that pork chorizo cook down. It's going to look like a lot of fat in your pan. Don't freak out about that. Fat is good. Fat is flavor. This is okay. Let it be. Don't drain it. Don't do anything with it. Let it be. Okay? We're going to let this cook down for a couple of minutes, and then we'll hit it up with some vegetable broth and garlic and deliciousness. All right, so my pork chorizo has been cooking. It smells lovely in here. And I want you guys to see underneath, you can see all these brown bits. The pan is getting brown on the bottom. That's the goodness. That's the goodness. It's at this point now that I'm going to add my 3 cloves of chopped garlic. Like I said, I don't want to add that garlic until now, because if I add it while the onions are sauteing, it's going to get way too bitter. Now, at this point, what we're going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of vegetable broth to deglaze the bottom of this pan. And deglazing the pan just allows all those brown bits on the bottom to kind of release, and it gets all that flavor that's on the bottom back into the pot. And now what I'm going to do is add 2 cans of drained, not rinsed pinto beans. And then the last ingredient for this, please note, I didn't add any salt, any pepper, nothing. This is it. The chorizo takes care of everything. The only thing I am going to add is a bay leaf. I'll let that stick in there. Bay leaf just adds a little bit of depth of flavor. Before you eat, please remove the bay leaf. You can't eat it. It's not edible. We're going to let these cook down for a good 30 minutes or so. That's the minimum. And then we'll come back and check them out. They're going to be so good.
And meanwhile, our timer went off just a moment ago for our cinnamon crumb cake muffins. So we're going to go and pull those out.
Ooh, they look lovely.
They look really good.
Look at my baby one. She's so pretty.
You can see the baby one actually ended up being just the height of the pan, and the rest are just over a little bit. So we're going to set those to the side and let them chill for a little bit.
Perfect. I can't wait. This is going to be so delicious. We have our steak, and the steak has been marinating now at this point for a good 45 minutes or so. I'm gonna uncover it really fast and let you look at the loveliness. Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. I'm gonna show you over here a little bit more what it looks like, but first what we need to do is we're gonna take the steak off. I'm not gonna allow any of this cilantro to touch the grill. That's the main thing. So what we're gonna do, I've got my griddle over here. You can easily do this on the grill outside. If you do it on the grill outside at a high heat for about 5 to 7 minutes per side. We're gonna do it here on the griddle because it's a little rainy outside. So I've got my steak on the grill. Again, we are using high heat on this griddle. I've brushed it with some oil. It's going to be absolutely lovely. 5 to 7 minutes on each side, no more than that. 5 to 7 minutes on each side. You still want it to be a little pink in the center. I have just taken the first steak off, but I wanted to remind you guys that you will definitely need to oil this pan. You don't want to use an olive oil or anything like that. The olive oil is a low temperature oil. You want to use something that can handle the heat. So we're using a vegetable oil right now to coat this pan to make sure that the steak actually comes off of the pan first, but we also want to make sure that this steak caramelizes really well. It's a really good thing. So what we're going to do now is take this second steak. Again, I'm going to take all of the cilantro off. I don't want that cilantro to burn. That's not a good taste. I'm going to place this straight on my grill. Woo, that's a good sound. And we'll wait about 5 to 7 minutes on one side, flip it, and 5 to 7 on the other, and it should be ready to go. The steak is finished. Took it off of the griddle and we're letting it rest for at least 10 minutes. That's a very essential part when you're cooking steaks, is to let them rest for at least 10 minutes. That gets all those juices to kind of go back in and you don't have everything running out. If you cut it too soon, it'll be a dry piece of steak. You don't want to do that. So I have the steak here in front of me and I need to cut it up into little bite-sized pieces for our tacos. And I see the grains of the steak are going this way. It's important to cut against the grain. So you don't want to cut this way because then you're going to end up with a chewy piece of meat. You're going to cut against the grain. Oh my God, it looks so good. I'm so excited, Danielle. Please. Just amazing. Look at that. Oh, so good.
And it looks like you're cutting kind of at an angle.
A little bit at an angle. You don't have to do that. It gives you a little bit more surface area when you cut, but you don't have to do that. I'm going to cut this up, get this ready, and then we are going to assemble these tacos. Speaking of which, would you mind, in the oven, I put 2 types of corn tortillas in the oven. I've got yellow corn and white corn tortillas. Yellow corn is typically what we use, but I got both of them. My brother likes the white corn one, so we're going to go with that. But corn tortillas are authentic. That's what we typically use in a Mexican authentic taco recipe. However, if you like flour tortillas and that is your jam, then eat the flour tortillas, it doesn't matter. So we're gonna keep cutting this up, get this all assembled, and we'll show you how it's done. It's gonna be so, so delicious. And there you have it. Some beautiful, beautiful steak. I'm gonna go ahead and put this over here. If you'll move that over here. I'll put this on the plate right in between our tortilla shells. So I'm going to take 2 corn tortilla shells. You don't want to use one because otherwise it kind of breaks apart. Corn tortilla shells are fragile. I mean, you can tell already. And I've warmed these corn tortilla shells in the oven for just about, I don't know, maybe about 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes at the most, at about a 275, 300 degree oven. And we're going to put our meat inside. I'm going to take a handful of my steak, put that in the center. I'm going to garnish with some fresh onion and just some cilantro. We'll stick that right on top and it is delicious. What I'm doing now is I'm going to take a lime and just squeeze a little bit of lime juice on there. If you go to the website, you'll see a pro tip recipe at the bottom of the page. And the pro tip recipe is these lovely, lovely pickled vegetables. Now these pickled vegetables, I've got radishes, I've got onions, I've got jalapenos, I've got carrots, and I've got cilantro that I have pickled. It's a quick pickle and they've been in this brine for about 48 hours. And And I'm gonna put these on the side. And the radishes, actually, because the radishes have red on the outside, they do end up making some of the brine a little bit red, but I think that's really cool anyway. We've got our lovely pickled vegetables here. I've got a little bit of guacamole, and then we have the beans that we made earlier, and they are lovely. And we'll put a little bit of this on the side of our plate, just like this. And you have yourself the perfect, authentic Mexican street taco. And the pièce de résistance is your muffins.
Dessert.
Oh,
what meal
so
is complete
good.
without it, in my world at least. So our muffins turned out really well. You can see the nice little crumble on the top. And we did mix a little bit of that crumble into the center so you can see it. The cinnamon's just really worked through very well.
You ready? Cheers.
And with that, we are done with our Cinco de Mayo feast. Join us next week as we will be preparing for Mother's Day.
The day that should be every day of the year, Mother's Day.
I think we might let the guys actually take that over.
Yeah,
Join
maybe.
us.
We'll see. We'll have some special guests. In the meantime, though, also don't forget to like us.
Like us, follow us, youcooki'llbake.com. Follow us on YouTube. Subscribe to that channel. Twitter, Facebook,
and Instagram.
All the bites in between.
Yay!
See you next time.
Cheers. I love a good taco, so I'm gonna give this a shot. I like a little queso fresco on mine, so here we go. The steak is so tender. You'll love it, I promise. So good. Oh my god. That's delicious.
Okay.
Seriously, my god, that's so good. 3, 2, hola!
Oh, I forgot that was it.